Hey there, this is Clay with modernlove.life, and this is the Relationship Inner Game Experience. Now, my voice might sound a little bit weird today because I'm kind of on the tail end of a cold. I got a little bit sick over the weekend, and I'm pretty sure I'm pretty much over it. My voice, to me, sounds a little bit weird. I think that might be because my ears are stuffed up. I don't know if my voice actually sounds weird, but who knows? Anyway, today I want to talk about the topic of relationship goals and the whole idea of outcomes and processes, okay? Now, when it comes to dealing with a lot of people who want help in various aspects of their dating and relationship life, I see a lot of people that have a lot of outcomes that they have in mind, relationship goals, so to speak. You know, maybe they want to work things out with their partner. They want to get back together with their ex. Maybe they want to have a great girlfriend, a great boyfriend. Maybe they want to get married or something along these lines. And they want me to help them make this happen. But what they often don't realize is that these goals that they have, these outcomes that they want, aren't just something that you do, right? Because in our society, we often look at outcomes, we often look at goals, and we look at events, and we look at these big moments in people's lives, right? We look at maybe, for example, a college kid who maybe plays on the basketball team at college or something like that, and how he gets signed into the professional sports league and all of that. And we look at that and we're like, wow, that kid was just playing college basketball, and now he's making millions of dollars as a professional athlete. Right? And we look at that and we say, okay, wow, that's a goal, that's an event, that's an outcome. That how could I do that, right? But we don't always see the process that led up to that outcome. We don't see the hours and hours of practice that kid put in practicing basketball. We don't see the time that maybe he was injured and had to go on the long road to recovery. We don't see the time that he was turned down for the team and he had to tighten up his game and come back the next season or something like that. Instead, we just see the big event, or we see the startup company that got bought out for millions of dollars and now they're obscenely wealthy, or we see the person that lost 50 pounds or 100 pounds or something like that. But we don't see all of the little moments in between, the times where they had to say no to the birthday cake and eat the salad instead, or the times that the startup company founder had to work 16-hour days or anything like that. We don't see the process because our society, for the most part, doesn't glorify process. It glorifies outcomes. It glorifies goals. And it's exactly the same when it comes to relationships. People want these outcomes. People want these goals. They want to get married. They want to have a great girlfriend. They want to save their relationship or get back together. But they don't look at what it takes to actually get there. They don't look at what it takes to actually have somebody want to marry you. They don't look at what it takes to have somebody want to be your boyfriend or girlfriend. They don't look at what it takes to have somebody want to get back together with you or work things out with you. Instead, they just look at, okay, what can I say to make it happen? What can I tell her to make her want to go out on a date with me? What can I do to make him want to marry me? Instead of asking themselves, like, okay, what is it I need to do with how I'm bringing myself to these interactions that's going to make me an attractive person that maybe somebody's going to want to date me, or maybe somebody's going to want to be my boyfriend or girlfriend, or maybe somebody's going to want to marry me, or maybe somebody's going to want to get back together with me, right? And so you have to look at the process, right? And that's really what we teach in our courses, in our videos that we put up on YouTube, on our email newsletters, etc. And of course, in these Relationship Inner Game Experience episodes. What exactly is process? Well, when it comes to relationships, the process is really about two separate parts. Number one is about how you're bringing yourself to the interactions, right? Are you able to be present with the person in front of you? I don't just mean that you're physically there. I mean that you're actually emotionally able to connect with them. You're not off in your head trying to calculate whether or not you're looking high status or cool, or whether or not you're in the friend zone or anything like that. You're actually just being with the other person. Surprisingly, that actually helps you connect with somebody. And if you can actually have a good connection with them, they might actually want to be in a relationship with you. Surprising, right? So get out of your head and get into the present moment. Can you be emotionally curious about that person's experience, right? When you start to actually take an emotional curiosity towards somebody, empathize with them, connect with them, wonder about what they're going through, you're able to create an emotional bond with that person. And of course, if you can bond emotionally with somebody, they might actually want to be in a relationship with you. Can you be vulnerable and transparent about how you feel and what you want? Or are you more caged off, afraid of rocking the boat, and you just want them to make all the choices? Or do you just want to look kind of polished and perfect or something like that, as opposed to showing them your true colors, your true personality, right? Because surprisingly, people don't want to be with perfect people. People don't want to be with people that never speak up. People want to be with people that have a real personality, that are not afraid to tell you what's going on with them, and aren't afraid to just broadcast what's on their mind, right? And so the more of yourself that you can share, the better that's actually going to actually help people connect with you. And the more people connect with you, the more they might actually want to be in a relationship with you. You see how this goes. And so these are some important things about process. The better you can get at these things, the better you'll be able to connect with people in the long run. Now, the second part about process is more about the things that you actually do. Now, of course, this is not to be emphasized at the expense of what we just talked about, which is the emotional connection. They're both equally important, but the things that you actually do are also equally important as well, too. If you want to connect with somebody, you have to, pick up the phone and call them, or ask them out on a date or something like that, right? You can't just hope and wait that somehow things work out. Or if you want to end up with a boyfriend or a girlfriend, you actually have to put yourself in situations where you're exposed to people and you can meet them, right? You can't just have the perfect person come knocking at your door. Most of us can't do that anyway, right? You have to actually go out into the world and meet somebody, or join a website like Match.com or something like that, and actually expose yourself to certain people, right? And so there's a certain process involved in getting what you want. And of course, that aspect of doing things is going to depend on what your outcome is, right? If you want somebody to marry you, you have to have a great solid relationship. You have to really demonstrate to them that the two of you have a good future together and all of that stuff. If you want somebody to want to get back together with you, you have to do similar things like that. If you want to meet somebody to be your boyfriend or girlfriend, you have to put yourself out there a little bit. And so these are the kinds of things that you have to do on a consistent basis. It's not just about, trying to rig the system in your favor or anything like that. It's really about being willing to put in those long hours, like some of our other examples before, such as the college student who ends up becoming a professional athlete, such as the startup founder that ends up being bought out by a large company, such as the person who went on a diet and ended up losing a tremendous amount of weight and now they're in shape, right? These aren't just magical things that happen. These are things that happen because of a process, because of that person was able to put in the time, going through the grind, going through the boring, unrewarding, unglamorous work of whatever it is that they were doing that eventually led and created the context for the great outcome that they got in the future. So if you want the goal, if you want the outcome, if you want whatever the event is that you're looking for in your love life, the best thing that you can do is to focus on the process, because that is going to create the context that's going to maximize the probability that you're going to get what you want. You're much more likely to get a boyfriend or a girlfriend if you go out there and meet people, if you're easy to connect with, if you're constantly improving your social skills and all of that, than if you just sit at home wishing and hoping and praying, right? It's pretty obvious. And so when you create that context, you're setting yourself up to welcome in the goal, welcome in the outcome, welcome in the event, and that's how you go ahead and reach your relationship goals. So it's important to really focus on the process more than the outcome, because when you really think about it, the outcome that you want isn't really what you really want anyway, right? So for example, a lot of people sometimes write into me and they want help saving a relationship. They want help getting back together with their ex. But it's not like they just want to be back together with their ex. It's not like they just want to log into Facebook and change their status and say, hey, I'm back in a relationship with so-and-so again. What they want is they want the connection. They want the bonding. They want the closeness. And that isn't just a matter of, logging in and updating their profile, right? There's a lot of people that are back together with their ex and they're miserable. Or there's a lot of people that are in a relationship and they're bored. There's a lot of people that are in a marriage. There's a lot of people that are married to each other and their life isn't happy, it's not wonderful, they're just kind of, quietly putting up with each other because the relationship died a long time ago. So you don't really want the goal, the outcome, the event that you think you might be looking for. What you really want is what you think that's going to get you. And what you think that's going to get you is probably some form of closeness, love, connection, something like that. And if that's really what you want, then go for that. Don't try to go for the goal hoping that it's going to get you what you really want. And the thing that you really want, the love, the connection, the closeness, that can be had without the label of a relationship, without the label of a marriage, without the label of being back together or anything like that. You can go for it right now if you just simply create the context for that emotional connection and go through the process of building that emotional connection. Go through the process of putting yourself out there, contacting somebody, spending time with each other, going out on dates, getting out of the house, all of these sorts of things, right? If you put yourself in the state of mind where you're investing in the process rather than the outcome, you're gonna do much better in the long run. So with that being said, let's go over to our questions for this week.
Okay, everybody, our first question is from Charlie. Charlie writes in and says, my question is, you say not to point score or worry about initiating conversation to take responsibility for where you want the relationship to lead, which I fully agree with. But you also say to not do this in a way that makes you look clingy or desperate. I text my ex every day, mainly I think because I wake up first and we have conversations every day. He texts me before work for around an hour, during and on his break. But then right now, usually evenings and weekends. He will just not respond even if I ask and open-ended question. So am I making myself look desperate by ignoring that and still texting him, or simply taking control? Okay, Charlie, so when it comes to this kind of thing, you're right. It is important not to keep score, and it is important to take responsibility for where you want the relationship to go and, initiating contact and being willing to do all of that stuff. But when it comes to what I'm talking about here, when it comes to looking desperate or clingy, this is all about giving unearned attention, okay? So like we were talking about, I think, with Clyde a week ago, there is a difference between earned attention and unearned attention. And the example that I gave Clyde was construction workers, the super cliche example of construction workers that catcall at a woman and say that she's, sexy and all that stuff, right? And that is unearned attention for the woman, which is why very few women respond positively to catcalling. Right? It's because basically you're just saying, hey, you are physically attractive, I want to interact with you. That's not something that she earned. She didn't put any effort into looking physically attractive. Yeah, she may have, done her makeup or something like that, or have taken care of her body or something like that, but she didn't do it with the express interest of getting the attention of the construction workers. She might have done it in order to get the attention of maybe some guy at work or her boyfriend or something like that, but not for those guys. Therefore, their attention is unearned. However, if you interact with your ex or somebody else and they contribute something to the interaction, like they express some sort of vulnerability or share some part of their emotional experience or otherwise have skin in the game of the interaction, then that is earned affection. Okay? So, for example, if your ex is talking about how he's really passionate about, some event that he's going to or something like that, you could say, wow, the way that you talk about that charitable event, I can really see your passion. I find that really sexy. And that is very different from catcalling, right? Because he contributed something to that conversation. He poured his heart out and shared what his experience was, right? And so there's a big difference between being over-invested and being appropriately invested in a conversation. Now, if you're texting your ex and, he's not investing in the conversation, then, that's fine, right? That's you making a low stakes bet like we talk about. Just don't double down on that bet because then you're just really increasing and over investing on that part, okay? So you might text your ex and, maybe they respond, in which case, okay, cool, great, now you're going somewhere. If they don't respond, then you don't double down on that interaction, except maybe to answer the question as if it had been asked to you yourself. And then if you still get nothing, then I would just let that go and then maybe try again at some other point in time, okay, when you actually do get a response and you do get them to invest in the conversation. That's where I would take that, okay? So being desperate and needy is really just over-investing and giving somebody unearned affection or unearned compliments or unearned attention of some sort. Okay, whereas appropriate levels of investment, it doesn't matter who is initiating contact. It doesn't matter whether it's you or whether it's him or anything like that. The point isn't that contact has been initiated or that a text message has been sent. The point is what is being communicated, right? Just like it doesn't matter who is talking, it matters what that person is saying, right? And so the important thing is that both people are investing emotionally in the conversation. It's not just like one of these one-sided conversations where, you're just going on and on and on and you're like, what was it like for you? How was your trip to such and such a place? And they're just like, it was good. It was okay. And you're like, oh, wow, that must have been so exciting to go to this place and to be in a completely new city that you've never been to before. And they're like, yeah, it was all right. And like that kind of thing is where the other person is just not invested and you are way over invested. That would come across probably as clingy and desperate. However, if you were to not overinvest in that situation and notice that the other person isn't sharing much and say, well, I noticed that you're not really describing much about your trip to, I don't know, Cincinnati or something. Well, why is that? Did you not enjoy it? And they might say, well, actually, I did enjoy it. And you're like, what did you enjoy about it? And then, then they can start sharing something, and then you have something to work with, and then you're not over-investing, and you're actually encouraging them to invest in the dynamic and where it's going. So I hope that clears it up. What the difference is between taking responsibility and initiating conversations versus being clingy and desperate, Charlie. So with that being said, thanks for your question, and if you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to ask those next time. All right, our next question is from Reyes. Reyes writes in and says, hi, Clay. This question is about rebound situations. Each rebound situation for everyone is unique and however form it takes. The key point, as you tell us, is to focus solely on the emotional connection with our ex and to focus on process and not events. Facebook doesn't matter. What they say to us or about their rebound, such as we will never get back together, or I love my new partner, or we can't be friends, doesn't matter. What they do with each other doesn't matter. However, for those of us facing our ex and their rebound on a regular basis, such as if we are coworkers or schoolmates, there is an additional layer of difficulty as we would be challenged to, quote, look into the eye of the monster, end quote, and be unswerved in our approach, focusing on connection. Yes, that is all that matters. The rebound situation will melt away on its own when we deploy the decoy strategy, getting our exes to choose us over our past selves. That said, it's challenging when our exes would be open, flirty, or even loving to us in private, yet still hold onto the rebound and even closer than ever or seemingly happier than ever in public right next to us. Therefore, what would be the best approach to situations in which your ex and his rebound are happily and affectionately together in public and around us, even while we are having great connection and high-quality interactions in private? Okay, so when it comes to situations like this, what I would do is I would just talk to my ex directly. I would just let my ex know that it's very uncomfortable for me when them and their rebound partner are very physically affectionate with each other in public when I'm around. I would just let them know that and say that if they continue to do that, then I don't know if that's, if I can still be with you in private, okay? If that's your boundary anyway. You have to stop and think about what your boundary might be or how you want to deal with this, right? So for example, your ex might not know that this is having this impact on you. In which case, he might be a little bit dense, but he might not know that being very publicly affectionate and having all these public displays of affection and all of that with his current partner while you are around is actually very difficult for you emotionally. So you might want to tell him that and communicate that to him. And then if you want him to do something, then you have to tell him, say something along the lines of, hey, it would really mean a lot to me if you guys could keep that on the down low when I'm around, or something like that, right? And, that's not an unreasonable request, I don't think. It's not unreasonable for somebody to say, hey, this is my ex over here. I don't want to, stir up the pot too much, so is it okay if we just keep it kind of civil and polite and all of that while we're at this class or while we're at this work function or whatever it might be. And then, we can go do our things later on. And I think that's a normal thing for somebody to request, and I think that would be a normal way for somebody to respond. So I don't think that it would be out of line in terms of asking him that sort of thing, and I don't think it would be strange for him to oblige to it either. If that's what you would like for him to do, I would say directly ask him to do that. And if he is unable or unwilling to do that, then you have to take that as feedback. Take that as feedback that he's the kind of person that is unable or unwilling to do this for you, and then ask yourself, is this the kind of person that you want to be in a relationship with? Is this the kind of person that you want to pursue a relationship with? Somebody who is unable or unwilling to do this, in my opinion, perfectly reasonable thing that you would ask them. And if the answer is, yes, I still want to be in a relationship with this kind of person, I still want to see where this goes, then fine. Go ahead and do that, but you got to drop this whole thing about the public display of affection. If it's not okay, then you need to say, okay, well, hey, this guy just saved me a whole lot of extra time and energy and heartache by disqualifying himself by just not doing what I politely requested of him, and just letting me know in no uncertain terms that my needs, my desires, my emotional needs are not something that he can consider in his actions. And then let him go and create space in your life for you to welcome somebody who is able to meet your needs and be respectful of your needs and all of that stuff. So that's what I would recommend in that sort of situation. Okay, Reyes? Anyway, I hope this helps you out, and please keep us updated on how things go moving forward from here. Okay, our next question is from Alethea. Dear Clay, thanks for the response to my last question. I clearly was in damage control mode because when my ex finally responded to my message after 10 days of no contact saying that he was busy and would get back to me, I immediately sent him a number of texts, which again got no response. After 2 days of not hearing from him, I went to his house to meet him. It was then that I asked him why he feels that we should not meet or text so often. He mentioned that he does not want his feelings to come back because he cannot and will not get back together with me again. He also mentioned that my wall of texts annoy him and he does not feel like responding. He also became agitated and frustrated, saying that talking to me stresses him out and he could not afford any of that because he has so much on his plate that he needs to deal with. I broke down emotionally because I reminded him that I did not want what happened with my sister to happen with him. My sister has not spoken to me for 4 years now after a misunderstanding that we had. And he took that opportunity to point out that I should also allow him time to reach out to me, even if it takes months or years. When I calmed down, I told him that all I wanted was to be friends again, and he hugged me and walked me to my car. Even though the interaction ended on a good note, it was clear that he still holds a lot of resentment towards me, especially when he mentioned that he had done enough from his side to make things work, and it was totally my fault that we broke up. I really feel that I need to take time away from him and work on accepting the breakup and letting go of my bad emotions. Would that justify another ANC of, say, 3 weeks for me to heal emotionally while also giving him time to reach out to me? Okay, so when it comes to ANC and how it differs from passive no contact, again, we're not doing this for the purpose of making your ex miss you so that they want to reach out to you and contact you or anything like that. The main reason we're doing active no contact is 1, to get out of damage control mode, and 2, to work on developing and cultivating the advanced relational skills so that when we do get back in touch with our exes, we are able to have much more high quality interactions with them, okay? And I can tell that maybe this is something that would benefit you based off of something that you said earlier on in your question, such as that your wall of texts annoy him and he doesn't feel like responding, and he doesn't want his feelings to come back because he cannot get back together with you again. And the reason that I say that is because here you're not focusing on having high quality interactions with him. You're focusing on trying to recreate the relationship or something along those lines, okay? And again, like we've talked about before, when you are relationship focused, your ex sees this as you looking to them as a means to an end. They are a means to an end for you of feeling better so that you can be in a relationship. Okay, if you are in a relationship, then you will feel better, and they are the one that has to deal with that, right? And so if they don't understand that you get them emotionally, if they don't understand that you can connect with them on an emotional level, then they're going to see any communication with you as being relationship focused and you looking to them as a means to an end. If, on the other hand, you can be connection focused and really display those advanced relational skills and get out of damage control mode and all of that stuff, then they're going to actually enjoy interacting with you, and it's going to bring the two of you closer together again. So for that reason, I actually would say that active no contact would be a great thing for you to do for 3 weeks or for however long it takes for you to be able to have high quality interactions with your ex that feel good on an emotional level. So what I would strongly recommend is that you do active no contact. By doing active no contact, I mean actually go through and practice the advanced relational skills, develop them and cultivate them so that when you get back together with your ex, it's not just like passive no contact where, just a period of, in this case, let's just say 3 weeks have passed and you're just hoping that somehow something is different and somehow something is better. So I want you to actually take matters into your own hands, be cause in the matter, and to actually develop advanced relational skills so that you know that you are not bringing the same version of Alethea to the table that your ex is already well aware of exists and does not want to interact with. Okay, so for that reason, I would definitely recommend doing active no contact. Okay, our next question is from Rick. Rick writes in and says, "Hey Clay, we reach out to our exes in the hope of reconnecting and building a stronger emotional bond with them in order to get another shot at having a relationship with them. In my opinion, there is no way we can hide this agenda and pretend that we don't have expectations. So when we approach them in whichever way, for sure, they see what we are doing, or at least feel that we are attempting to connect with them and that we have an ulterior motive. Most people here, and that includes me, want this outcome. That's why we are here after all. And I think we're trying to act believing we are okay with any outcome that might arise, but we are not. I strongly believe that it's only going to work and keep working in the long run if we really truly let go and heal completely and accept wholeheartedly whatever outcomes result from our efforts. In the end, if I can speak for myself, I've tried to be strategic in my efforts so the connection can develop with my ex. At this time, she doesn't want that to happen. I know I should be able to tell if she wants it through empathy and be okay with whatever desires she has in that respect through acceptance. We choose to believe that we can act in a way to get the desired outcome. But maybe, in this particular case, trying to reconnect with an ex, actions and words aren't as important as our state of mind, how healed and detached we are. Have I understood this correctly? Thanks for your time. When it comes to this sort of thing, yes, absolutely. Your state of mind, or as I've been saying in the past, your way of being is absolutely critical, more so than saying the right words or doing the right things, okay? Trust me, the words and the actions that you take are going to arise out of having the right state of mind. They're going to arise out of having the right state of being. Now, in terms of what you say, like pretty much impossible to have, to not have an ulterior motive, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. When I was getting back together with my ex, one of the times that we broke up, it was actually while I was on a study abroad program, and then we did like no contact and all that stuff, and then eventually we got back together, and when we met up for the first time, I actually wasn't sure what to think about her or where I wanted things to go or anything like that. She just called me distressed one day, saying that she had missed me and that she wanted to get together. And I knew that I was going to be back in our hometown. I think it was like the next weekend or something like that. And so we agreed to meet up for coffee, and at that point, I didn't know if I wanted to get back together with her or not, because my perception of her had changed a lot based off of some things that happened during our breakup. And so I was just more or less open-minded as to who this person might be. So I didn't walk in thinking that I knew who she was. I didn't walk in thinking that I knew everything about her. Instead, I was more curious. So I did have that level of empathy, that level of curiosity, that level of trying to hear and understand who this person might be. And so in that respect, I wasn't attached to outcome. And so I think that might have helped me at that particular point in time. So yeah, you do have it right in that your state of mind is absolutely much more important than what you say or do, okay? Because if you try to say or do something from the wrong state of mind, it's going to come across as artificial. It's going to come across as like some sort of gimmick or stunt or act that you're putting on or something along those lines. So what I would recommend is that you first focus on your way of being. How are you bringing yourself to the interaction? Are you bringing yourself to the interaction thinking that you have something to prove to your ex, that your ex is some sort of like divine being who's judging you as good enough or not good enough or something like that? If so, then that's probably the wrong way of being. You don't want to come to your ex as if you're, some sort of groveling peasant looking for their blessing or anything like that. That's not the right way of being. Yet so many people are trying to get back together with their ex from that state of being, and they don't understand why their ex is turning them away. And it's because they are, in a sense, being desperate and needy, okay? And this goes beyond the obvious forms of desperation and neediness, such as, begging and pleading and calling like 1,000,000 times a day and stuff. As long as you are having that emotional experience within yourself, whatever you say or do, even if it's like obviously desperate and needy stuff like calling 1,000,000 times a day, or even if it's cloaked, like trying to pretend that you're cool or the alpha male or something like that, it's going to come across as fake, and it's not going to be genuine or authentic, and your ex is probably going to see right through it. That's why it's important to work on actually being, maybe, for example, curious about what your ex's experience is, actually being interested in connecting with them, actually being interested in having real heart-to-heart conversations rather than trying to connect emotionally with who you think your ex is, or who you think your ex is based off of the relationship that you used to have, or something along those lines, okay? So that's why your state of being, that's why your way of being is absolutely vitally important, which is, again, is what we talked about last time, or maybe it was the time before that, on the relationship inner game experience. So if you missed that, definitely go back and check that out. But yes, Rick, that is exactly what I was getting to when it comes to all of that stuff. So thank you for checking in, and yes, you do have that correct. So yeah, I hope that helps you out, and please keep us updated on how things go moving forward. The next question is from Vixen. Vixen writes in and says, "Hi Clay, my question is, I guess, a follow-up to my last question. I got to see my ex a few weeks ago, and we are on relatively good terms, I think. He was fine seeing me in a group with some friends. However, we didn't talk much, and he still won't answer any of my texts since then. I've just been sending him periodic texts about different things and stuff that comes up like a friend would. His graduation for college is coming up, and I want to say something nice for it. I figure I just won't really try and reach out to him anymore until then, which is May 13th. With the current situation of him being okay hanging out in a group, even if he doesn't respond to my texts, or me making plans, you've told me in the past that I'd need more rapport before I ask anything along the lines of him feeling uncomfortable with me keeping in contact with him, or him being uncomfortable with me making plans with him, and I guess I agree. I just don't know what else to do. 1, if he continues to not answer me, what should I do in lieu of asking him directly if he doesn't really want to keep in contact or it makes him uncomfortable? And 2, what is something that I could say for his graduation, and what is your advice on that? I don't want it to be too generic, and I'm not really sure now since his response record is so poor. Okay, number 1, don't worry about the graduation thing. If you work on your way of being, if you work on how it is you want to connect with him, then it will take care of itself, okay? It will take care of itself. So just as an example, my sister and I, who I'm still kind of getting back in touch with from not being in touch for a long time, those of you who've been following me for a while know that I'm just now getting back in touch with my dad's side of the family, for like the past year or so. And, my sister and I, we keep in touch, but, we're still building that like sibling closeness, right? And so we were supposed to hang out on a Saturday, and I was there and she wasn't showing up, and I thought maybe she's running late, and I didn't think much about it because she is usually late when she goes places. But then, it was like an hour late. And so I just reached out to her and I just contacted her and I said, hey, are you having a hard time finding the place? Did you get hung up on something or something like that? And I still didn't hear back from her. And then I figured that she had just, forgotten or something came up or whatever. And anyway, later on that afternoon, I got a message from her saying that she had just completely forgotten. She got the dates mixed up. She thought it was going to be Sunday that we met up. And so her phone was off because she was doing some other stuff. And then when she turned it on, she got my message and found out that it was Saturday and not Sunday. And so I just told her, hey, don't worry about it. It's okay, because I genuinely meant it. But, like we talk about, that can often come across as just sort of like a generic, pointless thing that people often say, like, how are you? Oh, I'm good, right? Even if you mean it, it's going to come across as kind of generic and pointless and insincere, right? And so I could have just left it at that and just kind of been like, oh, okay, yeah, well, sure. I let her know it was okay, and we just left it at that. But I also noticed something in the message that she sent me, which was, hey, I totally left you hanging. I'm a horrible sister. And I noticed that there was a lot of blame that she was putting on herself for this mistake that she made. And so from a place of being, as somebody who wanted to have a good quality relationship from one sibling to another, I noticed that. And so from there, I sent her another message that said, hey, just so you know, I'm never going to judge you, and I'm always going to be on your side, okay? So you don't have to worry about being hard on yourself or anything like that, because you've always got a place in my life. Something along those lines. And that connected with her, right? It's not the usual kind of, hey, don't worry about it, it's okay kind of thing. It's something that sticks out, and it came from my way of being, of wanting to be the kind of brother that always has his sister's back. Okay, so that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about when I'm talking about the way of being and how it is going to inspire you to say something, right? As somebody who doesn't know your ex, as somebody who doesn't know what your ex is studying, what his plans are after graduation, what his personality is like, what his concerns are about the future, what his fears are, what his hopes are, what his dreams are, anything, I can't tell you what to text him that's going to stick out and make him say, wow, Vixen is really awesome. I need to get back to her, or I'm going to respond to this, or this is really important, right? But if you are having the appropriate way of being, and if you have really worked on the advanced relational skills enough to be able to catch things about him, then you'll be able to do things like what I was able to do with my sister, right? I was able to observe the fact that, yeah, she was actually being really hard on herself when she said she was a horrible sister. And I was able to connect with her in a way that I wanted to connect with her, as, like siblings that always have each other's back. And so that's what I was able to do. I was able to break that trance of, oh, hey, don't worry about it. It's okay. It's all good. Don't worry. It's all good. Maybe next time, that. And I was actually able to say something meaningful to her that was able to connect with her and leave her really touched. Okay, in regards to your first question, it seems like he's okay to hang out with you. So the next time the two of you hang out in person, with friends or something like that, step aside with him and just let him know, hey, I really enjoy spending time with you. However, I've noticed that oftentimes it seems like sometimes you don't want to interact with me or something like that. Is anything going on? Anything that I should know about or anything like that, right? When you're in person, you can build that rapport. When you're in person, you can create that kind of connection so that you have the kind of foundation where you can ask him this sort of thing, okay? I wouldn't necessarily do it out of the blue. You could, but again, like I said before, that might be a little bit difficult without the degree of rapport, but you can build that rapport when the two of you are together in a group of friends or something along those lines, right? Because it seems like that's something that he doesn't have a problem with. So that's what I'd recommend in that situation. So I hope this helps you out, and please keep us updated on how things go moving forward from here. Next question is from Dean. Dean writes in and says, hi, Clay. Thank you for getting the time to read this message. Me and my ex split up a few months ago. Since then, she took me out for dinner to say thank you for my support over the year, as she's just completed post-grad. She wanted to remain friends and open to meeting up in the future. I declined friendship as I still wanted more, obviously a mistake at the time. Since then, I retracted that statement and said it's a great opportunity to remain friends, but she didn't believe that I could have a change of heart so quickly. She said it's best if we have a period of not talking. I've since reached out 3 weeks later. We have had positive interactions. She then messaged me a few later, wishing me a happy birthday. Again, we had some positive interactions. I reached out a few days later, but after a few messages, she said that we should have less contact. I used advanced relational skills to show empathy and said that I respect her boundaries. I reached out a few weeks later and got a neutral response. I tried continuing the conversation, but she said, it pains me to say it, but I guess I care enough about you not to make it harder. I feel we should stop continuous contact. I respected her decision for space. Question number 1. Would you suggest not reaching out to her again until she reaches out to me? It's her birthday and an important event in being her brother's suicide anniversary next month. Would it be distressful to break contact during those times and indirect communication such as liking Facebook posts? Should this stop during the period of no contact? Okay, so when it comes to no contact, yeah, you're not going to be liking your ex's Facebook post. You're ideally not going to be reading your ex's Facebook news feed or anything like that. Again, go through the no contact section of the ESP course, where we talk about things such as how to deal with social media while you're on no contact and stuff like that. Would it be distressful to break contact during these times? I mean, I don't know. I don't really know exactly what your ex's relationship with her brother's suicide anniversary is. I mean, obviously it's not a great experience, but I don't know how she generally deals with it. I don't know how she deals with that anniversary. I don't know how that affects her, but you probably do. So what I would do is I would feel into the situation and try to figure out how I would best contact her or not contact her during that period of time. What I'm seeing a lot of in your interactions, though, is, she says something like, hey, I don't think we should be in contact, and you say, I used empathy and respected her decision for space. And I want to make it clear that that is not necessarily what I am recommending in these sorts of situations. Now, that could be what you might do, absolutely. Again, what I want to do is to empower you to feel into the situation, to know what the right thing to do is in your situation. Okay, this is not me telling you to do one thing or the other. You have to be the author of your own life. You have to be the author of your own love story. You have to make your own choices and go for them 100%. But when it comes to acceptance, when it comes to curiosity, when it comes to all of that stuff, I'm not saying acceptance is just about, whatever your ex says, just, hey, take it. Say yes. Your ex says, don't contact me anymore. Say yes. Your ex says, I hate your guts. Say yes. Your ex says, never contact me again. Say yes. Your ex says, go take a hike. Say yes. That is not what I'm telling you to do at all. What I would advocate for you instead is to feel into the situation. And if it seems right to you, have a little bit of curiosity and say, well, what is it that makes you hesitant about keeping in contact? Or, something along those lines, so you can understand what her concerns are, so you can understand where she's coming from. And if need be, you can say something, well, hey, what if we just agreed that we're just going to keep this platonic for the time being until we can figure out what it means for us to be friends? Or what if we just agreed, though, that we're not going to fall in love with each other ever again, with like a kind of smiley face, kind of flirty thing or something like that, depending on what the situation is. Again, I don't know what the right thing to do in your situation is, but you have to feel into it, okay? And I just want to make it clear to you, though, that having emotional acceptance is not about just, grinning and nodding and going with the flow or anything like that. Having emotional acceptance is accepting that something that has actually happened has happened, okay? And then that takes you to the next point, which is, what are you going to do about it, right? And then you have to respond from a place of authenticity, from a place that genuinely expresses how it is that you feel, what it is that you want, etc., etc. Okay, it's not about just nodding and smiling and going with the flow passively. Okay, that is not what I would recommend at all. Okay, your second question is, would a fresh start letter be appropriate here? I don't know. Is there anything in particular that you feel like apologizing for? You said that, like, you agreed that you said you didn't want to be friends and you think that was a mistake, but I don't know if that's something that you should go out of your way to apologize for. The way you describe it, it doesn't seem like something that would warrant the fresh start letter. But if that's something that I'm misunderstanding here, and it is something that warrants a fresh start letter, then by all means go ahead and do that. But again, that's something that you have to feel into the situation to do here. Okay, my goal is to teach you advanced relational skills, to teach you how to have a great relationship so that you don't need me in the future to be, kind of spoon feeding you all of this stuff down the road here. I want you to be able to feel into this situation. So I want you to practice that now by feeling into the situation, putting yourself in your ex's position and saying, if I were my ex, would receiving a fresh start letter from me feel good on an emotional level, or would it feel bad on an emotional level? Would it increase the connection between us, or would it decrease the connection between us? Would it make me think, wow, he finally gets me, I can like let down my guard and we can finally talk? Or would it make her think, wow, this is weird, what is he apologizing for, right? You have to feel into the situation and know what the right thing to do is. So that's what I would recommend, okay? Your third question, is there anything I can do differently to move the conversation forward if my ex is being stubborn to engage in a conversation, such as only neutral okay, yeah, so that's really where the whole acceptance thing that I just went on about is really about. I would take more curiosity in her experience. I would ask her more questions about her experience and try to engage her on that emotional level so that we can actually have a conversation with her about where it is she's coming from and what sorts of things she's actually wanting, and so that we can really understand each other, okay? So that's really what I would recommend in your situation, okay? So I hope that helps you out, Dean, and please keep us updated on how things go moving forward. All right, and our next question is from our old, faithful, reliable friend, Clyde. Clyde writes in and says, hey, Clay. This is a bit of a technical question. You usually advise people to use better means of communication, so it is better to have phone calls rather than text messages in order to create a better emotional connection. And I'm totally with you on that. I hate texting with anyone, and I prefer to call. However, people in their 20s these days just don't call ever. It's very weird. It's a very weird thing for them to do. So if a person is going to receive a call and be like, oh, I had forgotten my phone, could be used for this, should we just discard this option? I'm asking because yesterday was my ex's birthday, and I called to wish her a happy birthday. My 2 calls didn't go through. I don't know why. I ended up leaving a message on WhatsApp, but anyway, I was very afraid when calling because of that reason. So when it comes to technology, yeah, people in general are changing the way that they relate to things like cell phones, right? I remember back in the days before smartphones, before texting was really much of a thing, people would just call each other on cell phones. I used to do that often with, my very good friend back then. And, as time progressed, we started to just drift more towards texting. But, we still do talk on the phone and all that stuff. But here's the thing. You can always text somebody and see, hey, are you open for a phone call or something like that, just to check in with them before you just kind of, barge into their world. And so that's definitely something that you could do. You could say something like, hey, I'm out for a walk and I was thinking of you, and I obviously can't walk and text at the same time, otherwise I might get hit by a car or something like that. Would it be okay if I texted you? Or, if you're texting back and forth with somebody and you have some degree of rapport going, you say, hey, it's really nice talking to you like this. I'm in the middle of cooking dinner or something like this. Would you mind if I texted you so that I could keep talking to you without, getting my phone covered in like beef slime or something like that, right? So that's something that I would recommend when it comes to trying to shift up to a higher level of conversation rather than just, keeping the conversation in text message level. Okay, so Clyde, I hope that helps you out, and please keep us updated on how things go moving forward from here with your situation, and if you have any more philosophical questions about love and relationships.
All right, so those have been our questions for this week. Thank you once again for watching this episode of the Relationship Inner Game Experience. If you've liked this, please feel free to give us a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel so that you'll receive updates when we publish and upload new Relationship Inner Game Experience episodes. And please leave a comment down below letting me know what are some interesting topics that you'd like me to talk about next time. Anyway, please take care.